That's why I never had radios in my car. I didn't need.
Never had radios at all?
Oh, once or twice, but it was just a whole nother thing for me to be confused about.
Oh, I imagine you probably started in a time where you didn't have spotters, so it was just kind of like, why do I want someone jabbering in my ear anyway?
There was no spotters, no radios. Didn't need all of that.
Yeah. So kind of one of the things I was actually thinking about recently, that I was telling somebody, and when I was telling them that I'm having you come on, and I was like, I'm like, I think back to about it now, and this will be, I'll date myself here. This is 20 years ago. I started racing a 4-cylinder at Golden Sands, and I parked next to you, and I was telling someone, I'm like, I look back at that now, and that was so cool to say. For I think it was 2006 and 2007. I parked next to you, and I said one of the neatest things I said I would, I'm like, I was so young and green and figuring out going around a track, and I would get out of my car and you'd come over all the time and be like, well, Colin, how'd it go? What's it doing? And I'd tell you what it's doing. Like, okay, well, what are you going to try? And I'm like, well, my dad said, I think we're going to do this. And, if we'd make that change, we'd go out there, and I'd get out and you'd come running right back over after you got out of your car from practice. And, well, what did that do? And you all were always very intently listen to what I had to say, and were curious as to, did that change actually help me? What did I learn? And it's just one of those memories I look back on. I'm like, man, that was so cool. And it's something I'll remember forever.
The thing about that all is I knew your dad, he's pretty high strung, and stuff. And
I've heard that. Yeah.
And I get a kick out of that. I'll never forget that one time you come in out of the race, and I didn't get to watch the race or anything, but I remember Baird was going around the car, and he was all jacked up, and he's snarling and snorting, and I'm gonna punch him or something, isn't it? And your mother, no, Baird, you're not gonna punch anybody. So calm, and I got a kick out of that.
That was probably a conversation or comments that were made very, very, very common.
I'm sure. Yeah. Baird was a lot of fun. He's always strung pretty high. And then another time I remember, it was at Wausau, and Brian was racing, and we were parked together in the pits, and Baird is watching the race from the back of the trailer, and Brian got in some kind of a wreck down in corners 3 and 4, and Baird took off out of the back of that trailer, and he got his neck hung by one of them guide cables for the ramp that goes down.
Oh, yeah.
He flew out there about 10, 15 feet, landed on the ground. He gets up and he looks backwards at that thing, and he rubs the granite out of his arm, and he took off again. Oh my gosh!
Had somewhere to be.
His neck looked like it got cut by a knife. Oh, he got her good that time.
Oh, I'd imagine. Yeah, those things don't play nice.
He said that ain't nothing. He says you should have been down at the Shell station or something. I don't know what he did down there, but. So that's pretty exciting too. So.
Oh yeah, no, that's good. So, did I know kind of you're in the Junction City area now? Did you grow up in Junction City, or where did Joker the earliest years of Joe Krzykowski start?
I started out in Sherry. I worked out of my
big town of Sherry.
Yeah, brother's shop. My brother Vic. Because I couldn't have done anything without his shop and without his help. So that's where I came from. And then after I got married and such, I moved out to Junction City, and that's where I still am.
Okay. When you were a kid, what did you grow up doing? Were you a gearhead right from the get-go, or?
Well, my brother Vic was kind of into cars all the time and stuff, and I ended up following that. And then Jimmy Bach was about 2 miles away from our home, and I'd end up getting over there, and he's got the stock cars, and he's doing all this stuff, the snowmobiles and mini bikes, and so that's probably where a lot of my influence came from.
Yeah, I was say that'll pique a young boy's interest.
I I don't know, but I may have even seen Jimmy Bach's first race.
Okay.
I was born in 57.
All right.
And as I understand, Jimmy Bach started racing in 61. And I remember my dad was going to take all of us to the racetrack. And this was in the springtime, and I know I was 4 years old. And it was, I remember it was going to be cold out. My dad wants me to stay home because it's going to be cold. You're going to freeze out there. Oh no, I got to go.
Yeah.
Anyway, so we go to the racetrack, and I'm sitting with my dad. My other brothers, they're all running around all over the place raising Cain, and I'm sitting with my dad. He's got a blanket around me trying to keep me warm, and he's telling me, you got to cheer for this car. You know, so okay, I was like kind of a cream-colored car. And I remember the race come out, and he says, okay, that's the one there. You got to watch it. You know, and he's telling me that's Jimmy Bach, our neighbor. So
okay.
This all got planted in my head. And I remember he started up in front of it, and after a few laps, he was darn near to the back of it. And when it all got done, he couldn't even keep up to the back of the pack. And I thought, you picked a real winner here. So
yeah. And
then the next race came on. Maybe it was a semi-feature. I say I don't know. But the same thing happened. He ended up in the back again. And that's really all I can remember. But I know it was Jimmy. But if it was his first race, but it had to be. It definitely was his first year. And I mean, I know it was in the spring, and it was at Griffith Park Speedway. And if it was his first race, but it's possible that it was his first race.
Yeah, that would be interesting to know for sure.
It was kind of a cream-colored or light tan car, and I think I asked Howard Joling what year it was. I thought he told me like a 53 Ford was his first car, and
okay.
And Les Bach says he remembers that. He says because Ma was mad because Saturday, I think it was Saturday, they took the family car and made it into a race car. And the next Sunday morning we all had to pile into a pickup truck to go to church in the morning. Ma was mad.
Oh, I could imagine.
That's what Les says he remembered. That's what he remembers of it all. But
I'm guessing that was probably your earliest memory being at a racetrack then too?
That's my earliest memory of any racing.
That's cool.
Yep. And I know I froze, but I never wanted to go home.
Did your family kind of avidly go to the races, or were you kind of just around the racing from being down the road from the box?
Just because of Bach and stuff, yeah.
So any other kind of exciting times when you were let's say before you even had a driver's license hanging around there?
Well, who knows? I mean, we had our snowmobiles and this and that.
Yeah.
Rammed around with a bunch of old beater cars and stuff, and then it ended up turning into race cars, and I had to start out in a hobby stock car. That was the first thing that I ever did.
Yeah. When do you remember, kind of having the thought of, I think I'm going to do this at some point?
Well, I must have been spending too much time over by Jim over there, and pretty soon I got that in my head, and started out in some kind of a hobby stock car, something I cobbled together, not knowing anything what to do with anything, because I haven't really been around anybody in the pits or anything. I didn't,
Sure. Do you remember what kind of car it was?
65 Mustang.
Okay.
Yeah. I remember the first corner I went into. In the first time I was in competition, the first corner I went into, I got introduced to Vic Getzloff.
And I'm guessing not for a good reason.
So the parts are flying, and after that's all done, here comes this 400-pound man walking up to me through the pits, which I don't know who he even is, you know.
Yeah.
And comes up to me. Looks pretty easy from the stands, don't it? I asked Vic about that a few years ago. He says he remembers
That's
that.
too funny.
Yeah.
And what track was that at?
That was at Plover.
That was at Plover. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember your first race?
At just like in a go-kart or at Plover?
Oh, you were in a go-kart first?
I did. Yeah, I was in a go-kart and then before the four-cylinder days, yeah.
You had it easy then, yeah. Those four-cylinder cars are pretty cool too.
Yeah, I remember when, the first four-cylinder that I had was, we bought it from the Kralovitz family, but prior to that, it was Adam's.
Oh.
Yeah, it was an Escort that Adam had.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't remember what year of Escort it was, 90-something or whatever, obviously, but
sure.
Yeah, that was my first one.
Oh, that was. Oh.
Yeah, I don't really remember my first. Now I think of it, I can't really remember my first outing at Golden Sands. I feel like I remember going, but I couldn't. I know I started in the back, to stay out of the way.
Sure.
But yeah, that's all I really remember. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember Adam's first race. He, I think he run the heat race, and I says, just take it easy, because he only hot lapped a few laps. I says, don't you want to take some more? No, I'm fine. Okay. So he started the heat race, and I don't remember where he finished, but he just kind of drove around. And then it was time for the feature. Well, he started, he might have had fast time or something, unless he just started in the back. But he, I says, well, just, be patient. Don't get nutty. Well, the race is gonna start, and he's back 10 car lengths from the last car. He stands on the gas, gets it up to speed, goes flying by everybody. By the flagman, I think he might have been first or second. He went and got a running start. That's the first time he was ever, I couldn't believe it. And he won the race.
No, they let it go? Yeah.
Well, he started way in the back. He
sure.
started last, but he got a running start. They gave him the green flag, and he went flying by the whole works on the outside. But then, of course, nobody would talk to him. Oh, they always say it's lonely on top.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So kind of, yeah, going back to when, the first year in hobby stocks for you, how do you remember how your first year, did you just go to Plover? Were you just kind of getting used to things running around there?
Yes, I just went to Plover. I had enough keeping it running from week to week and putting the wheels back on and staying out of Vic's way.
Yeah. I don't know if you'd said, how old were you when you ended up finally building one to go run?
Must have been 18 or 19.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. How long do you think it took you before you started like really getting the hang of, getting around the track?
Well,
and feeling comfortable.
When I got into the late model deal there, and then give me probably a couple years, of course, that's about the time I figured I knew it all and didn't have to listen to anybody anymore. So,
how long did you do the hobby stocks for?
I'm pretty sure just 1 year.
Oh, just 1 year. Okay. Yeah. Gotcha.
Jimmy Box says it costs just as much to go to the racetrack with the late model as it does with the hobby stock. So he got me going in.
Words of wisdom, yeah. All right.
Words of wisdom. There you go.
So then right into a late model at that point then.
Yes.
And then what was it like an older one that Jim had, or did you end up building something?
I just got thinking about that the other day, and something that Jim had, they had a Ford frame there, and it was somebody that was building a car, and then they quit on it. And I thought it was somebody like Bobby Jadak or something was supposed to have been started that or something. And I don't know how Jim got a hold of this or where it come from, but anyway, Jim set that up basically for me. And boy, I don't know, he might have gave me the main hoop or something for the cage and that, and then I had to take it home and finish it from there. But
Okay.
And that's how I started, which it was going to be a good car. The problem is I just didn't have any money to do anything right at all. And, and Jim wanted me, bring it over there to help me. I just didn't have any money. And
Yeah.
I had to struggle with what I had and learn the hard way, the school of hard knocks.
Yeah. Hey, some say that's the best way, right?
I don't know if it's the best way or
but
not.
you learn a lot anyways.
Well, you wreck a lot of stuff. You spend a lot of money, but what are you going to do? Pretty much the way I live my whole life, so it's the way it is.
Yeah. Then do you remember, did you just end up going to Plover kind of to get rolling with the late model again?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Plover. And then I started branching off to Wausau a little bit and
Okay.
stuff, which was quite a lot different after you're at Plover. It seemed a lot different
Yeah.
at Wausau. You couldn't see anything where you were going or what was going on in front of you. It seemed like you're not as good of vision and sight in front of you. But.
Sure. Now, I'm guessing that, thinking of all the people that were running around at that time, you spent a little time running in some semi features.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Pretty much that's all I did. But
it was a big deal to win semi features, back in 70s.
Yeah. When the Artco cars came around, I must have been racing for several years already, and it's getting a little better car and stuff. I remember I built a car. I remember going over by Dick there, and I'd get his pipe bender. Everybody got Dick's pipe bender to help him. If Dick would let you use pipe bender to bend your cage and stuff, and then Dick was working on, he just got back from New Smyrna, and he was cleaning everything up down there, and he had his Bemco car in the shop there, and he let me measure, the suspension, and I measured the best I could and wrote in my notebook, but he told me he was working on a different one with a Ford front step. He said, you should be measuring this car over here. He says, well, that one, I figured he just got back from New Smyrna. This would be good enough for me. So I measured up that Bemco car, and I cobbled it together the best I could at home, and I thought it worked pretty well.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
like you built something kind of essentially yourself to match it.
Is what I did.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Everything was. I just measured all the hookup points the best I could and tried to duplicate it. How accurate my measuring was, I don't know, But
and was that still, was that getting in like the tube chassis at that point?
Yes.
Okay.
That was that Bemco chassis.
Oh yeah, I suppose Bemco. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
That's when Dick had that, and it became popular and stuff. I don't know what year that was,
Sure.
But I know Dick ran very well with that. I know Tom got into that a little bit too, but I don't know how many years he ran a Bemco or anything.
Yeah. Yeah, I think only a handful. I know actually one thing that was interesting, we were trying some stuff on my car at one point. I want to say it was probably around 2015. We actually I didn't have time to order a spring that we needed, so we went in the back and, well, Colin, here's an old Bem coil. Should we give it a whirl?
Sure.
Stick it on a Raider. It's however old that would have been at that point, 30 years old, and
Sure.
put in the Raider. Hey, looks great. It's right on the dot, and I ran that quite a bit actually.
I rated all my old Bem coils and stuff. They all came right on the money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good USA made material back then.
Yep. Bill was selling springs left and right. I remember that. Sure. Yeah, and then I ran with the car. And I went to some of them Artco shows. I think I won like 3 of them semi features one year in them Artco shows, which was a pretty tough battle. And
yeah, I could imagine.
I never could get qualified for a race. I would never buy 4 tires. I'd buy 2 right sides or whatever, and I never got qualified for the race for the feature. So,
do you, I think about I can remember my first super late model race and how that went for me and the thoughts that went through my head. Because I think it was the first time I'd ever gotten lapped. And, I think about the guys that are on track with me, what was, whether even if you were just in the semi and necessarily weren't, on the, in the race with Dick, what was it like kind of, being out there and around, those guys almost, at that point were pretty big figures in racing at that point.
Well, just like Dick, Tom, Marv, Jimmy Bach, and all those guys, I thought those guys were like very good racers. The stuff that I saw, and how they were on the track and how they handled each situation and stuff. I mean, like me, they knew enough to watch out for me. They knew that you were going to do something wrong. I mean, they read all this stuff. They could see it, and those guys, I always thought they were always a level above anything I ever was as far as their driving skills and stuff. Of course, Dick and Tom, I thought was always sharp on the track and that, sharp and understood all what was going on and could see what was going to happen. Tom, I thought, was really sharp, which there are a lot of other guys too, but
yeah,
Tom, I thought, was really sharp on the track. I don't know if you ever heard a story about Tom, and I heard it by several different people, and I wasn't there, but Tom was racing the dash at Wausau. You raced at Wausau. You know what that's like.
Yeah.
Tom was outside of Boomer in the dash. Tom was pounding on his right front fender with his fist. Boomer had him kind of pinched up by the wall, and Larry Deachens is behind him. That race got done. Larry comes over by Tom. How can you do that? Tom says, well, he was kind of pinching me up to the wall pretty tight, so, but I'll tell you what, you go down that front straightaway at Wausau on the outside and you're pounding on somebody's fender, that's skill. That is unbelievable. There's only about, I don't know who there is that can do this, and have your foot to the floor and be in racing and not miss the next corner.
Yeah, and then to have the thought, I'm going to reach out there and pound on this guy's fender so he gets the hand, No, I never heard that one, though.
Oh, you never heard that?
No.
Oh, my gosh. I talked to Scott Wimmer, that was at Tom's funeral.
Okay.
Scott says, yeah, I heard that story more than once.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, that's something. No, you that at Wausau, your hands are full, and Larry comes up to him and says, how did you do that? That's pretty amazing. Oh, he was good in that seat, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. When did things super late model wise start clicking for you, and when you on kind of on your own start hey, I think I'm trying to figure this out, and and started seeing yourself getting into features?
Well, what went on is they did that 8 pounds per cubic inch, and I kind of thought I had to weigh 3,400 pounds. I had a big block motor, so that was all fine and dandy. And then I can't remember what they did. If they, all of a sudden one year how'd they do that? The car had to weigh 2,800 pounds with the driver in it. And before that, the driver wasn't in it. That was just the car. Had to weigh 3,400 pounds. What I'm getting at is they took away about 600 pounds. 500, 600 pounds. I was lost. I had to start over, and I struggled.
I'd imagine
for a long
it's a
time,
big deal.
Trying to get my act together, and so I was in big trouble after that. And when they lightened them up, I had to start over. I wasn't good for nothing. And then, of course, you get married, you got kids, you're running a business. There's only so much so many hours in a day, and
Yeah.
and that's the way that went. And then later on, I don't know, I kind of always was kind of looking, what do you call that, thinking out of the box or whatever,
Yeah.
this and that, and got things rolling again, but it took a while.
How long, did you run bach cars for a while? And obviously, you kind of.
I never ran a Bach car.
Oh, never. Okay.
No, I never did. I had a couple of my own. Then there was a Rander car in there someplace.
Okay.
And then at the end, I had a couple of left-handers. And,
Okay.
I kind of like that. They were a pretty tough machine. The car that I always had an eye on and kind of wanted to get in the seat was that Fifth Design Howe car.
Okay.
Back then, and I'm pretty sure that's what Mark Martin came around here with. I'm pretty sure that's what Mark started with, was that Fifth Design or something on that order.
Okay.
And then there were a lot of guys using that, and I know the Sodders all loved that Fifth Design back at that time, and they always loved the Howe car anyway. But that Fifth Design Howe car, I think Kirby run one for a while there and stuff, and I remember he said he liked it and he wanted to get another one built. He couldn't get it built for him or something, he said. And
sure.
But yeah, that was.
Well, what was it? Was it some of the success and kind of credibility that other people kind of gave it, or was there something about it that you really liked?
No, just like you're saying that that Ed Howe had a lot of engineering that nobody maybe
sure.
Gave him credit for, was already in there. The guy, God had to give him a lot of credit. So, yeah. But
do you remember, going back a little bit, do you remember, the first time you ended up making it into an A main?
Boy, not really.
Okay.
Not really. Mm-mm. Everything blended together.
Sure. Do you remember the first time you ended up winning a feature in a late model?
Probably must have been at Wausau or something.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know if to me that wasn't all that great big of a deal. It's more important to me to be the fastest car on the racetrack. And
sure,
try to be more consistent and stuff. But it depended how many tires you could afford, and one day you were quick, the next day you weren't. You didn't buy no tires, and just the way it was.
What was obviously there were you were racing in times where people were running 6-7 times a week. How many days, how many races were you ever covering in a week's time?
I remember about four, and that was more than I could handle.
Okay.
I know I was doing 3 for a while there. I'd go to La Crosse and Dells and Wausau and Plover, but then Plover I think shut down for a while there. So
yeah,
and then it was just the 3, but yeah, that'll wear you out.
Yeah, no, I would imagine. It's like, I know you said you didn't have a lot of money, but it's like, yeah, there's I feel like a lot of people, similar situations, still end up finding themselves at a racetrack probably more than they needed to be, just money wise.
That's what Dick. I was talking to Dick one time, and we were talking about I says, geez, I can't afford this and this and that. He says, well, even if I couldn't afford it, I would still race, he says.
That was very much a Dick Trickle comment, yeah.
Yeah, that was Dick.
So you're kind of talking about being, starting to, get creative, think out of the box. Maybe what's something that, if you want to share it, what's something you feel like was when you started having to think out of the box and be creative that kind of started working for you? What do what kind of stuff are you trying to do, coming up with?
Well, for one thing, I remember for a while there, I went to the extremes on everything, trying to get, they talk about the aerodynamics and this and that, and trying to get the body lighter and everything lighter. And I went to extremes on a lot of that stuff. Every little thing, do every little thing that you could think of it if you had time to do it and get it done and all that. And the whole left side weight thing at first was not there were no rules on that, so you could get all your left side weight.
Sure.
And all of those things, when you got that all these little things done, that was good. Yeah, I mean that was speed if you could get it all done, and then bang, you wreck it and you can start over.
Yeah, and put all that work back into it. When I raced for, I think that comment really brings the story back. I remember it was my first super late model. I was racing for Kevin Lang, and we were building. Yeah, so it was 2010. We were building a car over in Minnesota, and we were just about done with it. And I don't remember if it had the wrap on it or not, but it was a lot of time when it was really really great looking car. And I think it was one of Kevin's friends walks in, and he's walking around looking at it, and he goes, "Well, man, they sure are beautiful, but one swat of the wall and it's all over."
Yeah.
Kevin's like, "You get the hell out of here." And
Yeah.
I think he might have left after that.
You can't let that enter your mind. You can't
No.
let that enter your mind. Or you will get wrecked.
Oh yeah.
You got to race it. You got to have that foot to the floor. As the years went on, there was a deal there where I started trying to be a little cautious because I didn't have time to be fixing all this stuff, I'd get wrecked, and somebody'd run into the back. They'd spin out and wreck in front of you. Wreck there. Finally, I says, from now on, I'm going to have, if I get wrecked, my foot's going to be to the floor. I didn't have a bit of trouble the rest of the year. You got to have that. Just race it. All your instincts, all that stuff, will deal with it when that time comes. Trying to figure it out ahead of time isn't going to work.
No, I think that's a good way to look at it because, there's only, you got to be cautious, but there's, really,
No,
there's at some point, there's a diminishing return.
You don't want to be cautious. Put that foot on the floor. Oh my gosh. No, that attitude. I see some of these young guys in that NASCAR and stuff these days, I forget what they call them. Hurricane or somebody.
Hurricane host.
He went driving through the middle of those guys. That foot had to be to the floor, and he knew it.
Yeah.
And he found just about enough room to get through.
Yeah. And if there's not enough room, it seems like he makes the room. But yeah.
There's one thing about that, and you got to do that stuff so you don't cause a wreck. And that's like I was saying earlier about Dick and Tom and Marv, all these guys, they were good about that. They knew how to do all that stuff, and you can't just come up and slam somebody. You just got to be gentle.
Yeah, I always remember my grandpa trying to explain to me, he's like, Dick was so good with his nose. He goes, he'd come up and he'd get behind you, and he goes, he would get you loose, and he goes, by the time he got you loose, you didn't even know that he ever touched you. You didn't even think that he touched you, but the next thing you know, he was inside of you and going by. Yeah. And like that's finesse.
I remember what the heck was the deal at Wausau one time, and it's the way the traffic broke. I started in the I got in a bad lane. Somebody run me all the way to the trunk, and this guy was coming back, and the whole lane was open, and nobody wanted to go behind this other guy because it's all going to. I flew right up there. I flew right up to maybe up to fourth or something because that lane was open. Nobody wanted to be behind him. And right when I got up behind him, Larry Deachins was inside with his Mopar yet. And there was a hole, about 20 foot big. I slipped in there. Kapow! He gives me one, and I made it. But as that race went on, Dick was behind me. I was like maybe third or something. And Dick was behind me, and the traffic was like this, There's that. I just feel him. Just touch me. Just touch me. Joe, we got to go. He's not going to let me relax. You got to stay sharp. Yeah. We got to go. I got a kick out of that because he was talking to you. Yeah. I got a kick out of that.
That's funny.
We all ended up in the sandbank on the last corner. But it's the way it goes.
Yeah, some of those end up like that, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Now, I think from kind of recalling a little bit myself and then kind of looking through, I know in 93, you won the Deachins race, State Park, and then you got a championship at Golden Sands in '97. Is there any other kind of ones any championships I'm missing through there too?
No, and I never really worked hard to get a championship.
Okay.
I know I could have had one at the Dells, and I skipped a race. I had to go someplace, and then there was another one at Plover, and I skipped a couple races, but it wasn't that important to me.
Sure, never chasing the points thing too much.
No, that just is a hassle. I had enough hassles the way it was.
Sure. Yeah. Was that kind of a when you were going to the racetrack, was that more of your mind says like, hey, I'm going there to win, and the points thing that's a whole separate kind of thing?
I tried to get away from that points thing.
Sure.
Best thing you could do is skip the first 3 races or something, so that's out of your head.
Sure.
Then you can just go enjoy yourself and race. Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Okay. Where did where did you all kind of travel throughout in your racing career? Did you really stay a lot of Central Wisconsin? Did you venture outside of it much?
I tried to stay around here. I just didn't have that just took so much more time and preparation. I just didn't have any time and all that I had enough to do right here.
Yeah.
If that means anything to you.
Yeah, it just, even with like the ARCO, did you head out of Wisconsin at all?
Just down to the Dells and
okay.
Plover is all I did.
Okay, gotcha. How did you end up where did the number 77 come out of? I always love asking people.
Oh, that's easy. That's there was 99 and there was 88 and there was no 77 that I knew of at the time, so it was a no-brainer.
Yeah. Easy, cheap number to put on.
There you
two
go.
Sevens.
There you go. You're right.
Yeah.
Just like you say, and that's significant as the years go on.
Did you have a favorite track that you really enjoyed going to? I mean, I know you hung around Plover a lot, but
yeah, well, Plover. I suppose you gotta give it to Plover. It was my home track. So,
okay.
It's kind of Plover used to be a very forgiving track. How Sam Bardis had that built was pretty forgiving for cars, and they changed the configuration of it now, and they made it wider down the straightaways and stuff. But the way Sam had that at first I thought was really forgiving for cars, because he kind of when you got in trouble, he kind of flattened that out on top, and you had a place where you could save yourself, and then there was just sandbanks and stuff, But Plover was a pretty forgiving track.
Yeah, I mean, I think even nowadays compared to so many, it's, you got to go pretty far off to get to a wall. I mean, yeah, there's people that reach it, but it's relatively forgiving.
That as things go on, and you see it with tracks that that having that wall close to you sometimes may be better. Get it stuck right away instead of getting stuck going another 50 feet.
Yeah.
And then hitting it, So, I don't know.
Yeah, dropping right side tires off in the sands on the front stretch doesn't always end up the greatest sometimes.
No, you don't want any of that.
I was always fortunate enough to be able to ride through it, but I've seen a lot of people not come back from that.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember I was right behind Steve Holzhausen. He went flying off. Somebody clipped him, and he went straight over that thing, and the wheels all were in the air, and then it hit the wall out there. I thought, oh, that's gotta hurt. That's like all them NASCAR guys. I seen them years ago. They used to smack that wall. I never laughed. I says, that hurts. I remember Jeff Gordon got smacked once. He was laying in that car. Not the wind knocked out of him and stuff, Oh yeah, they hurt. Them walls don't move.
No, they don't. I just told this story recently on here, but I had asked my uncle. I'm like, I hit the wall at Kaukauna a couple of years ago, and I was like, man, I'm like, how did and that was the first time I'd ever really hit the wall hard.
You did a good one.
Yeah, I did a good one. Yeah, that's right. And yeah, part broke heading into one, and away we sailed. And it was probably one of the more slow motion moments in my life. But I remember asking him, like, man, like, how did you guys handle hitting the wall with no Hans device? Like, that just blows my mind. I mean, and he's like, your head hurt for a while.
And
just
they did all this stuff, you know, if you ever knew it or not. Like, that's like even when I started racing.
I mean, no roll bar padding, and
didn't have no dry sumps and stuff. There were wet pans out there. Somebody broke a motor, they dumped that oil on the track. Everything. All these cars kept wide open, and nobody knows why their car took off, you know.
Yeah.
And I remember at Kaukauna, I was in a semi-feature at Kaukauna. I lined up 21st or 22nd. Down the front straightaway, they let the race go. Somebody broke their motor up in front. When they relined up the cars, I was 6th.
That collected a few.
Yeah. There's a picture, and it's in the article book or something there where they're all stacked up. Yeah, that was the one.
Yeah.
You know, but those wet pans, they'd break that motor and dump that oil all over the place. Who in the heck was it? I think Joe Shear was saying he had to get by Dick because he knew he was going to blow his motor and he didn't want to have his car all special. He had to get past him.
Sure, would that have been when he was running a lot of prototypes or something?
No, that's when he was running the Fords, the Cleveland engineer and stuff, and he was breaking them left and right, you know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the wet pan and dumping all that oil, you know, and nothing you can do when you hit that.
Now, I this is what I heard. I'm not going to say who told me, but now you kind of always had a little bit of the name Smokin' Joe. Was that from being fast, or is that because you have Ford Motors smoke?
That's a good question. I think it had something to do with Smokin' Joe Camel, you know, and somebody thought it was cool or something, you know.
Sure.
That was Smokin' Joe Camel time, you know, on the Cup Series there, so I don't know where that come from or not.
Gotcha.
I know during that time, I remember I put in the scraper ring upside down, and I remember my motor was smoking, so maybe that was part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One story I wanted to ask, and actually it's in one of Father Gruba's books. I think it might be in the golden age of Wisconsin auto racing one. He has a story of Jimmy Bach, and I think it was his bus broke down in La Crosse, and it talks about you pulling him home. Do you recall that one? Yeah,
you can't ever forget that one. Jimmy didn't ever forget it either, I'm sure. That as that started out,
that's a long tow home.
Jimmy was going to the racetrack in La Crosse. I think they stopped in Toma, and the starter didn't work on their bus.
Okay.
So they'd park it on a hill and roll it, let the clutch out. Okay. So whoever is pushing the bus, and Jimmy's by the door pushing, whoever let the clutch out had it in the wrong gear. The bus stops. The door slams shut. Jimmy's got his thumb in there. They got to open the door to let Jimmy out because it latched.
Yeah.
So I seen him at the racetrack, and that's all wrapped up with that white doctor tape. You know, it must have been pretty bad, you know.
Yeah.
He gets in the race. He gets wrecked at La Crosse with his car now. So he got in a wreck. And the bus, I think Larry Weirs had to pull him in, go get him with the record to pull him into the racetrack in the first place.
Okay, I think it talks about that in there too.
I'm pretty sure. And he's, okay, so the night goes on, and Jimmy's standing there with his thumb, car's wrecked. The bus don't run. I don't know how many people he had with him. There was all kinds of kids and whatnot. Well, I better see what's going on here. So I ended up, I can't remember if they ran that bus part of the way home or if I had to pull. I think they probably ran it for a while. I don't remember if the water pump was out or what the deal was, but I kind of think they maybe got it down the interstate a ways, and then I So I'm going to pull him now. Well, I'm tired. Gary and Lester are there. I says, let them drive my truck. I'm going to go take a nap in the bus, because, whatever, 30 miles an hour, so. Well, we get going down, what is that? Is that 73 or whatever that is there, that big long road with all the deer on it, And the deal is, all of a sudden, boom, crash, bang, and, a deer jumped out in front of Gary, and the chain was probably about 10 or 12 foot long, so it was a short chain. So that bus and that truck, bang, 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 about 3 times. I hear Jim hollering, don't spin them out, don't spin them out, There goes the toolbox. One of the kids sleeping on it goes crashing up into the bus. I think they ended up down in the hole where you get on and off the bus.
Oh, sure.
But so everybody's all crashed up there. But the problem was, and Gary first pointed this out to me a few years ago because I forgot about it. The problem is that the booster went to heck on that truck, and we put a different booster on, which was not the correct booster. And the problem is the brakes were so sensitive, barely touched the brake pedal, and it'd lock you right down. See?
Okay.
Well, here, what happens? Deer jumps out. What's he do? He hits the darn brake pedal, and it locks it down, and bang, bang, and smashing. Oh, well, we got that on the road again, pulled the fenders out so we could pull the bus again, and pretty sure he got the deer, too. Because I remember somebody saying something about, do you want the deer? And I think Jimmy says, any deer that cost me that much money, he says, or something like that. I'm pretty sure he got the deer, too, But, that was quite a trip home. I think we got home before it was light out, though, so.
Yeah, 30 miles an hour home from lacrosse. That's a long trip.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, bang, smash. And then, I get out of the bus. I run up to the truck to see, what's going on or who's going on here, and I them guys are sitting. I open the door, they ain't getting out. Well, that's one of them trucks. We had all the junk that you ever owned on the dash, They were picking that stuff off their lap and putting it back on the dash. Those guys. Yeah. So. Yeah, and that was pretty cool. I think Jim got in another wreck a few nights later with another hauler or something too. Yeah, that was quite a trip.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of good hauler stories out there and just trips going to and from the racetrack.
Yeah, I heard all kinds of them. Was involved in a few of them. I ended up out in the bush. The tie rods fell off the truck or something one time, going down, must have been 54 or something there. Ended up way out off the road, 80 degrees, mosquitoes, out in some swamp or something out there. Well, I don't know what I did. I must have got the jack under there, and I got the tie rod pushed. It was off the pitman arm.
Okay.
Got it pushed up there and wired it up, so I got steering now again and got the trailer unhooked and stuff. So I got the truck out of there, and I got out on the road, and something went on. The battery was dead or whatever, but it wouldn't start. You're out in the middle of nowhere, mosquitoes. Here comes this truck coming down the road. 15 miles an hour, 10 miles an hour. Comes and he drives right by us. I'm kind of waving him down a little. And he stops up there 100 feet. I go up to him. Here's an old guy slumped over the wheel. He was down at the City Point bar. I remember his name was Dougie. And I asked him, I says, hey, could you help me out? My truck don't start. He laughs, and he's backing his truck up to my truck. He's backs up. And I'm kind of trying to tell him, you got to get the front of your truck up to my truck to help me. Oh, he gets out of that truck. He opens his hood up. He's got jumper cables that goes all the way from the front of his truck all the way to the back of his truck. He's a logger, so he's prepared for this all, So bing, bang, he starts me up. He's going to go home. I says, hey, can you help me get my trailer out? What trailer? He don't know what I'm talking about. It's out there, it's way out there. You can't see it. I says, you got a cable or something or a chain or something? Here he's got a whole cable and everything that reaches all the way out there, and I hooked my truck up to that trailer, and I couldn't get it to come out of there. Pretty soon he starts mumbling, I'll bet you there's a stump between the axles, he goes. And sure enough, that's what it was, because they had logged that area off, and there was a stump between the two axles on the trailer.
Yeah.
I remember I busted his cable and all whatnot. I finally got it out of there. Yeah, it was Dougie. That time the sun was coming up, we sent Dougie home. He says, my wife's never going to believe it anyway, he says.
Yeah, what a guy to come across, though. And,
yeah, well, it was really something. And he knew where I was from, Oh, yeah, I logged with him, so it was pretty interesting.
Now, I know there was a lot of neat, people had a lot of neat haulers. There was always hearing about, I think it was my grandpa and Jim and them guys
with
getting up on
with the buses.
Yeah, that, and just having the ramp from one trailer to the back of the truck, and all that stuff. What did you have for haulers in your earliest of times? I remember when you were running at Golden Sands, you had a big, I think it was a big box truck, right?
Yeah. That was kind of nice because you're out of the weather and the rain, and thing got 8 miles to the gallon, which really isn't that bad considering. And the thing run all the time, and you didn't have to worry about a trailer, and it worked out well. I had a winch in it and had all my tools in there. And
did you have like a lever right in your car that would winch it up?
A little remote button.
Yeah, I remember that.
Right up. Yeah, that actually worked out very well. Yeah, that hauler thing is, when's it going to end? You know what I mean? You can do this, you can do that.
I don't know if they can get any bigger than what they are nowadays.
When's it going to end? Where are you going to, So that worked out well for me. It's pretty cheap, economical, and never had to work on it or anything. I mean, it just always ran, what is that, 466 International, That was a great truck, yeah.
But in some of your earlier days, did you have anything interesting that you had to build or put together?
Just a little low trailer, and they had that's the one I was pulling Jim home with. That was my brother's rollback truck, 350 Ford. I just remember that too. I remember I go over by Les Bach over there where that bus is sitting about 2 or 3 days after we had our ordeal, and Les takes me outside. Come on here. I got to show you this. Well, I would jack my jack to carry my jack. I would jack up underneath the track bar mount. I would jack it up so the jack would stay there on the way home. So the handle is sticking out the back of the truck. Come here, Les goes, and he opens up. There's that hole in the hood where the jack handle went through the hood. He opens up the hood. Well, hear that jack handle went through there, knocked the alternator off the motor.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Les thought that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
I don't think they put that bus on the road after that. I think that was the end of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the car come into the back come forward, and yeah, but we made her home.
Yeah, kind of on the Bach topic. When we were chatting beforehand, you were telling the story. I can't remember if it was at La Crosse or there's a story you had just been telling me about when I don't think it might have been Les Les or Gary was racing behind you, and you're watching them, and they were coming around you.
Yeah.
Where was that at
That
again?
was at La Crosse. He was coming out of corner too, and he maybe don't think it was that funny, but from my manager, so I'm on the bottom of the track coming, and I see Les coming there, and he's just working, and he's going to pass me, and he's going to pass me, and he's going to pass me now. And I see him getting, way out there, in the corner of my eye. I see him pretty soon. I see that the number on the roof of the car. I said, well, I didn't
ran out of room.
I didn't think he could get out that far, but he kept racing it. I come around, he was laying on the ground. I think he tore his right front tire off or something. But yeah, I remember watching Les in his earlier days. He was racing they had a hobby stock car, and Les took it to the dirt track at Marshfield Fairgrounds. And if you've ever seen the fence at Marshfield Fairgrounds, maybe it's 12 foot high or something around the place. And Les is doing a good job, and I'm watching him. He's doing a really good job. I think he was running down the leader and stuff, and must have got a little excited, and he comes out of corner 2, and there's kind of a berm there. Well, the next thing you know, he just like Joey Chitwood, he climbs right up that fence, and the car spirals, bang, lands out of the park in the field there. And I run across the track, see how everybody's doing there and stuff, to see how he's doing. And I get over there, and Les is out of the car looking to see if he's okay to race yet. Well, the tires were sunk into the mud this far, He didn't race anymore after that. Yeah, but he went for a good ride. That was a good one. Yeah. Motorcycle racer, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a tumble. That would be a tumble. Yeah, without a doubt. Now, do you ever think back to, all the people you've gotten to race against, and, really kind of think, man, I got to race at a really, really cool time in racing history, especially around here.
I do. To me, that's the most important. I got to start out racing when Dick and Tom and Marvin and all and Jimmy, everybody was out there yet, and I got to see this all. That was, to me, that was really a big deal.
Yeah.
Because in my book, these guys are the greatest, and stuff. And I say, you get racing with them, and you could screw up, and they didn't. They knew enough. They knew you were going to screw up. They were smart. They were good. Yeah, the whole bunch of them. And then my gosh, and then Bobby Allison would come. Bobby Allison would come down.
Yeah.
And I remember at Wausau. I remember Davey Allison. He was about 12 years old, standing next to Bobby's car down in the pits at Wausau. So I mean, that's really
cool times.
That's really something, when you think about it. Yeah, Bobby. I remember racing with Bobby and second heat race and at Wausau, and Bobby would come to La Crosse, and Mark Martin started coming around, and that's again, I'm pretty sure that was like that 5th design Howe car when he started out.
Okay.
But I don't know for sure. But that was really something, Mark Martin, and I couldn't believe when I was starting to hear stories of Mark that this guy could beat Trickle. That's when Dick had his Bemco car, and he was really fast. And I didn't even believe it, but boy, I saw it happen. It was really something.
Yeah. Well, then I imagine it was a little bit before, because then there was eventually there was the Mark II chassis and everything.
Yes, and that.
Or I guess that would have been a Dillon car. Right? Yeah. Yes, that would have been a Dillon car.
Went to Dillon, then he started running a Dillon car, didn't he? Didn't Mark start doing all that?
Yeah.
But I got a kick out of that.
Seems right.
There was one of these podcasts of Mark telling about, and I don't know how many years ago this is, and he was telling about that car, that one that I'm talking about, that what I want to call a 50. And he's telling what springs were in that car, what shocks were in that car. He had that all in his mind. He knew exactly. I got a kick out of that,
Yeah, he's got I mean, I know he's been doing some more stuff recently, but he has a Mark Martin podcast, and he goes, and I want to say it came out in probably 2018, maybe 2020, somewhere around there. And he goes through all the years of his racing career, and that was so neat.
Yes.
And I thought it was super neat. And actually, I have all these old racing notes from my grandpa. And he's got one that was just on the Dillon car, and he's got questions to ask Mark, and he's got a list of questions that he wants to ask Mark. And
sure.
But I always remember my grandpa told me he struggled to get that Dillon car going, and I remember
your grandpa did?
Or Mark? My grandpa struggled with the Dillon car.
I remember him. I remember that.
Yeah, and he just always said, I could never get that car to go like, Mark could. And Mark, in one of those episodes, talks about what he was able to get for like left side weight percentage and what he had for wedge. And I think there were percentages that were different than what, the customers were leaving with and stuff. And I remember I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait to go and tell my grandpa and see, because I'm like, yeah, he'll remember what he was running, and I remember asking him like, hey, like Mark said this is what he was running. Like, do you remember? And he's like, yeah, it wasn't that.
Yeah.
I was probably like 2%, Mark probably had 2% more left side than what, he was getting. And
because when Mark first started that all, I don't believe there was a left side rule.
Right, that seems correct.
And then the left side rule came in. I think Mark took off and did some, what was that, with the Busch cars or something there? Mark
I knew there was
Busch cars, and then when Mark came back to this and he had a Thunderbird, blah, 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 there was also a left side weight rule. And he explained how he says, I didn't run as well. Well, he may have had
I mean, that's quite a change,
Mark said that, he says, I knew I couldn't outrace these guys. I had to have a faster car, so I had to build that car so it was going to be the best it could be. And that's what he did. And in these podcasts, I really enjoyed that all.
Yeah.
And he says, and then he did that, he's doing that Busch race, he says, in the phone rings. The phone is just on a pole shed, he says, it's just on the wall, and he picks it up, and it's that, I believe it's that Waddell Wilson. Calls him up and wanted to know if he wanted to maybe drive, get to drive for him or something. No, I'm doing my own thing. And he hangs the phone up. He says, he was explaining, maybe he should have thought a little bit more. He said,
I feel like I remember that in those stories.
I remember that, because don't worry, he remembers it well now that he thinks back,
Yeah.
Wow, to have somebody like that call you up.
Yeah, what a story, right?
Sure.
Did you see that he has a book coming out?
No.
Yeah, I think it's I just pre-ordered it for myself. I don't want to be wrong. I think it's called Never Lift is the name of it. But yeah, I think it's coming out later this summer. I think August, sometime around there. Yeah.
That podcast of Mark's, that was really good.
Yeah,
that was really
anyone
good.
I encourage anyone. I think it's just the Mark Martin podcast. Anyone that loves, old racing stories. I mean,
Sure.
he does a phenomenal job of going through all of his racing career, and he talks about all the haulers, and it is cool.
Is that the one where he was working at Plover all day practicing for Artco show, and it's time to qualify? Bang! He's got fast time, and Dick rolls in, unloads it off the truck, and beats his fast time.
He very well could have. I can't remember, but I think that's
all that same one, or
yeah, it definitely could be in there. Yeah, I don't know for sure, but obviously that's a very, I think an occurrence that happened to probably more than one person through the years.
Sure.
Trickle shows up with a car running, and
sure. Yeah, I remember Dick coming into Wausau, and he couldn't get across the track because the cops were talking to him. I don't know if it was for speeding or what, but you had to deal with them first.
Yeah. I got to get going here. I got places to be.
Yep.
What, yeah, and kind of some of them other, was there, who do you think probably from that time, and I guess, if it is, Trickle or Barv or whoever, if you had to pick one guy that, you felt like you admired the most or really, watched the most, who was it?
Well, okay.
And it might be tough to pick too.
No, you can't pick. So here you got Dick Trickle. All Dick Trickle cares about is racing. That's his job. Gets up at whatever, 2 PM, blah, 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 gets to the racetrack. There's Tom. Tom, I thought, kind of took the summer off and worked on the car the best he could, whatever. Okay, so that's all fine and dandy. Now you got Marv.
Yeah, who works full-time.
Goes to work full-time. Anybody that's a racer thinks about this and sees it. Look what he did.
Yeah, and I didn't know that for a number of years that he had raced full-time through all that. I'm like, how did he do that? And yeah, that's incredible.
Incredible is right. And Jimmy Bach there, yeah, he worked hard. He could have dedicated himself a little more to racing, and but he had his time when he was really fast too there. And then Mike Miller, he was trying to get something done, and he was, he'd come here to see if he could learn something from Dick, I think. I don't know, but and then there was, I remember Rusty Wallace came around here and raced. Who else was there? Dave Marcus and Bobby Allison. I think they were both at Wausau a couple times, and I remember Jim Sauter was there. It was kind of a big deal at Wausau that the grandstands would be full and the lawn in front would be packed full of people, and them people on Thursday night, and then people from Wausau, all you had to do was stomp your foot and they'd come alive. Oh yeah, that was great. They were great.
Sure,
yeah.
Sure.
Something go on pretty soon. The beer cans were flying and stuff. That was all right. That was the sport of racing.
Oh yeah, yeah. Now, I wanted to. I was asked if I could ask this question to you, and the person that inquired said that it might just be a rumor, but if you don't mind asking Joe, and I said I'll ask him. And so the rumor is that there was a time where you had got your hands on an aluminum motor and painted it with some metal shavings. Was that ever something that ever happened?
Well, why would that ever happen? I mean, we're racers. It's our job.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to ask that one.
That's our job. That when you think about it, you're in this racing. Would you rather explain to somebody why you got caught cheating, or would you explain to somebody why you were going slow? Which is
yeah,
which is easier?
Yeah, explaining why you like the gray line of the rules. Yeah.
There you go. That's why they make a rule book.
That's a great way to look at it.
I always read that rule book thoroughly. That's why they make a rule book.
And it keeps expanding.
Yeah, keeps expanding.
Oh no!
And now look at everybody's running them.
Yeah. Yep.
Transmission. They won't let you run that Burt transmission. I ran that Burt transmission for 20 years before they let anybody run that Burt transmission. It was an economical thing.
Yeah, I ran one.
The doggone, how much did them clutches cost?
I don't even know anymore.
The clutches, that Burt transmission, it had the clutch, everything for less than you could buy just the clutch for. You had a transmission, you had a clutch.
Yeah, I think.
I ran them Burt transmissions. I never took one apart in 20 years. I even gave one to Brian to use for a while there. But that was just a no-brainer,
Yeah, that was a good transmission, economical. Well, it was light and it was economical price-wise. I think I want to say when I bought one like 2013, I want to say it was like $2,200.
Yeah, I kind of thought I'd paid like 18 or something whenever, but it was just plain economics, And there's other ones out there too. I mean, everybody isn't.
Yeah.
Everybody knows.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of thinking now too. Now it's not often that I have that many people who have, spent time at the racetrack, but then also probably a little bit more time around my grandpa. If there was, so I don't have him here to get questions on him anymore. So I always love when someone else has a story on him. If you had a Tom Reffner story that can come to your mind.
That Tom was a racer. Tom was a racer. You guys are a racing family. But the way I saw Tom is, I mean, if in 50 minutes, if you were talking to Tom, if you weren't talking about racing, he was off someplace else where somebody was going to talk about racing. And, he was into racing. Maybe when he really got older here, he slowed down a little bit, but I'm sure he was at the shop helping you guys yet when.
Oh yeah, for a long time. Yeah.
So there you go. I mean, that guy was really something. And I always thought he, like, in the car, as the race was going on, stuff, sharp. I just thought he was so sharp and on top of whatever was going on around.
Mm-hmm.
I never felt I got to those kind of levels, myself.
Okay.
And a lot of racers. There's a lot of good racers out there. You get them in a good car, I mean, I'm sure you had your car that was really good sometime. You can't do anything wrong. Everything is so easy to do. It's so easy to watch traffic, everything. It's just, if you can get a good car.
Right. No, it's cool to hear you say that. And, thinking about that too, I can remember with my grandpa, we were just finishing the last car that we had. We were finishing it. It was 2013. And I we set the goal of running. It was like one of the first Yellow River races at Marshfield and trying to get it done. And, it's always a good time when you start bump steering a car at, probably midnight, or later. And, especially when it's brand new, it's never been done before. And especially when it's something that all of you built and designed and coming up with. And I remember it's 4 a.m. and we're like, I'm trying to debate, are we going to live with whatever this bump steer is at this point? And my uncle goes, I think we're going to go, you're talking about heading to the colony, you want to head to the racetrack and not that long from now. So this is going to be good. I'm like, all right, sounds good. And my grandpa goes, well, and he's sitting on a stool and just staring at the left front. And he's like, Brian, if we go over there and, we start, we can probably mill this and, make this, and we can get that a little better. Uh-huh. He's like, Dad, I'm not doing anything else right now. We're not, this is enough.
He was tired.
Yeah.
Sometimes when you get, I remember that working all night, you broke a motor or something, you want to race the next night and working all night. You get to that from 2:30 to 4:30. Boy, oh boy, that's kind of hard. You got to put yourself into something that you don't really have to think about, and stuff. Yeah. But then you start waking up again and you're ready to go. Have some coffee or something and you're ready to go. Then you're good. You're good.
Do I take a nap or do I just stay up at this point?
Oh no, you just stay up. Then you feel good again.
Yeah,
you did it. Yeah, that working all night. Oh, I'm sure you guys did a lot of that stuff, and that's just like Tom. You were saying things about Tom. Tom always kind of told whoever it was whatever he thought. I mean, he just let them know. Now they know. Everybody knew.
No questions asked. Yeah. No one's got to wonder anymore.
And the thing about it, he was right. He was. I always thought Tom was sharp. He was right with these things. That was my opinion. And then you had Trickle. I always thought that Dick Trickle was like the most common sense person that I knew. The things he said, I remember being at the racetrack, and he asked me, because it was after the race, what were you doing on the right front? Well, I says, I put in a lighter spring. well, why did you put in a lighter spring? I says, well, the car had a little bit of a push in it. I thought I would, help. He just shrugged his shoulders and he says, well, the weight's going to get there anyway. I never forgot that. I said, this guy is way ahead of me. And then,
Yeah.
And then there was another deal. We were in his shop one night talking about race cars and this and that and steering and stuff. And he talked about Jimmy Bach, that he put a chain drive under the dash and turned the left front wheel and then threw that chain drive and turned the right front wheel. Back in his early days, 61 Ford, whatever it was. And Dick goes, well, that's like walking around the stream in the woods when maybe you should have just walked through it. Now listen to that. Huh?
Yeah.
That's Dick Trickle.
Yeah.
And I got such a kick. I never forgot that, When maybe you should have just walked through it.
Oh, that's good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like he could come up with, just something simple and clever like that for any scenario. It seemed like.
And you watch some of that Kenny Wallace talking and stuff, because they must have lived close down there or something.
Sure, yeah.
And that Kenny is telling these every once in a while. I get a kick out of that. Oh yeah.
He does a good impression of Dick's walk there too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I can. I think it was the end of 2010, and we were trying to run the big show on Sunday at La Crosse for Oktoberfest, and I think we had something happen with a camshaft, so we were done, and I think the drivers were doing on-track autographs, and Dick was going to do autographs down the front stretch, and he's like, hey, come sit next to me and sign whatever. So I went and got some stuff and was signing next to him, and I don't know if this was a story a guy had heard Dick say before, but I was like a whopping 16 years old at the time. This guy comes up and he goes, Dick, he goes, I heard you could walk on water. He goes, I can. You just need to know where the rocks are. And
there you go.
I just thought that was,
Yeah.
and it just
You just need
most
to know
clever.
where the rocks are.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh my gosh, that's something.
I laughed and I laughed and
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that was good.
Yeah, a friend of mine that I grew up with, Dick, he had a well drilling business, and Dick used to work for him.
Okay.
When he was really young and stuff, and he even raced some cars they had. That's way back when he first started. But I remember there was some welds on that well drilling rig. He said, Trickle welded that right there. I watched him do it. He says, I ended up with the well drilling rig too. But anyway, he quite a Trickle, that's for sure.
Yeah.
How much did you really get to know Dick?
So thinking of early back, I spent a lot of time at my grandma and grandpa Reffner's. As a kid, my grandma watched me all the time. So I think really, like the Trickles would come up and stay in their house in Rudolph. They'd have a Trickle family reunion, and I can remember going there several times and chatting with Dick there when I was really young. And Chuck would be there in his motorhome. He'd drive home from Vegas, and but once I'm trying to think. Yeah, so I can remember. I was probably 10 around there. And stuff when they were coming back. But then once I started racing for Kevin Lang in 2010, and Dick drove for Kevin I think Kevin had his last super late model, which had was the Papa John's car, and then Kevin had Dick's last ASA car that they ran out of the Minnesota State Fair and stuff like that. So those guys, Dick and Kevin were very close. And then Gary Kovleski and Elaine Kovleski helped on there. Well, Elaine is Dick's niece. So I think I think when I was racing for Kevin, Dick would call quite often and and chat with Kevin, and then because both when we were building that car, Dick's last ASA car sat up on a hoist, and then his last super late model sat off to the side, and
for measuring purposes.
No, I don't think, and I don't know. Well, maybe I'm sure there's something we had to reference off of there,
Sure.
but it's the car that was sitting there. I think Kirby, the super late model, Kirby Kurth, that's the one that he owns now and takes around. So that was one that was sitting there. So I think through that year, and then in 2011 and 12, I went on to race for Gary and Elaine, and it was pretty common that and Dick was coming around here still for Oktoberfest. He would come up for the Larry Deacon's Memorial, and then he would always hang out in Kevin and Gary's trailer, and we'd always get to park. Dick would always, when we go to Oktoberfest, Dick always said, I want to be close, to like where like the where like the pork chop stand was in like the concession stand and stuff was in the infield, so that in case the people from lacrosse need to come find him, or he's easy to find.
Sure.
So then we would always get the park smack for those 3 years, get the park smack dab right up front there, and Dick was always in there, but so it was those races where I got to spend some time with him, but he would call and talk to me on the phone fairly often before races. I mean, it wasn't all of them, but I mean it was probably a third of the races he would call and talk to me on stuff, and I should hang it up here. I still have a piece of paper saved of him trying to explain to me how to get around lacrosse. Sure. And he's just he's got scribbles, and he's like, you're doing this, and you should be doing this, and I should frame that up. But
I watched Dick race for how many years? What did the guy do? I don't know what he did. He did something different. He could never explain it to anybody, evidently, unless he didn't want to explain it to anybody. I know he always had more diagonal in his car than anybody else. And I also saw the car. I never saw him push the nose. One time I saw him push the nose of the car at Wausau. That's when Larry Deacon's was running so well, and Larry was going to pass him, and Dick wasn't going to let him pass him. And I watched Dick push the nose. That's like the only time I ever saw Dick overdrive, a race car.
Sure.
I got such a kick out of that. Boomer used to in the shop, Boomer used to say, well, I wonder who's going to finish second tonight. Dick would say, well, what do you mean who's going to finish second? Well, we know Larry's going to win, He says, yeah. Yeah, because Larry was really running good there with that Frings car there for a while.
Yeah, my grandpa always talked about that.
Yeah, that was something I think I only saw that car race once or twice, and oh my gosh, I says, and it was amazing. I got underneath there and looked at everything I could look at, but I don't know what I was looking at. So, yeah,
my car's got none of this.
And then that's like you were racing at Wausau, whatever race it was, and Dick and Tom were in the back of your hauler. You must have been out on a track, and I go over there and I listen to these two. What are they? Just try to guess what they're talking about, these two guys are talking about. For for an hour, I think I listened to them too. These guys raced ASA, won all these championships. You know what they are talking about? Racing at Adams Friendship. That's what these two guys are arguing about. Who had the fast time and who had what track record?
Sure.
I couldn't even believe it,
That's neat. Yeah. No, and actually, I think it was like a rain delay. One conversation I really remember having with Dick, and it really didn't have anything to do with racing, but I think it was like a rain delay at, I don't know, it was either Was or Oktoberfest. I think it was Oktoberfest, and I never really knew a lot about my great grandpa Refner. Well, Dick obviously spent a lot of time hanging around my grandpa as a kid, so Dick kind of sat around and told me a lot about what he remembered about my great grandma Refner and who I knew, but I never, my great grandpa Refner was.
So you're talking about at the farm?
Yeah, at the farm. Yeah, And so yeah, Dick was telling me about, like when he was younger, hanging around there, and was telling me stories about my great grandpa Refner and great grandma Refner. So that was pretty neat. That was a pretty neat conversation.
I guess that would be, sure.
Yeah. So yeah, I had never really heard a lot about him. So it was kind of neat to just hear that from somebody else and stuff.
Sure,
but
sure.
And I think maybe even the same year. This is one of my favorite stories of kind of hanging around him. We had a pot of coffee in the front of the trailer, and he'd drink coffee all day long, and I always loved coffee, and I was like, I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee here, and I went to go and grab a pot, and my grandma goes, Colin, you don't want that. And I'm like, why not? And she's like, well, Dick made that. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, that's fine. She's like, I don't think you're gonna like it. And I was like, well, looks like coffee, smells like coffee. I'm like, all right. I pour herself a cup. I'm like, this is terrible. And my grandma's just giggling, and she goes, Colin, he puts like one scoop in there, and you're supposed to, however, it was supposed to be like a scoop per cup or whatever it was. I mean, it was a super small ratio. And I'm like, Dick, why do you drink that?
It ain't even no good, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, it was water that smelled like coffee, and it was a little bitter.
Yeah.
And he goes, well, that way I can just drink it all day long.
Oh.
I was like, okay. I'm like, that was the worst coffee I've ever had in my life.
If I'm going to drink coffee, I'm going to have coffee.
Yeah. But yeah, I think so there's the handful of years there where I got to know him and spend some time around him. And I look back at that, and I was like, I feel very fortunate to have had those times. And it was pretty neat, a guy that means a ton to the racing world and so many people, obviously. And so to be able to have a handful of conversations with him is, something neat.
Oh yeah. And getting back to that, I remember Dick racing Boomer's car at Wausau. Whatever happened to Dick's car, but he was racing Boomer's car for a while. And I don't know, I remember I was in the feature, and I remember something went on, and Dick got in a wreck. I don't know if he went over to Sandbank or what he did. So Dick's got to start in the back to clean everything up, and away we go, and I'm calling. Maybe I'm in the 6th or 7th place. Pretty soon I see the front of that Nova coming. I just rolled up out of the way and let him run underneath me, and he comes out of corner 4, and that right rear bumper is right on the ground. That car is all tipped over, and that right rear bumper's, but the sparks weren't flying. But, well, the race is all done. I don't know if Dick got second or what he got, and he's telling Boomer, there's something wrong with that car. Well, he lost the right rear spring in that wreck. There was no spring in the right rear. The guy didn't know the difference. You know what I mean? Car's a little pushy. There's something wrong with that.
And still just drove the heck out of it.
Drove. Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah. And then the story, you got to talk to the old timers that know it. He finished a race at Griffith Park Speedway with no left front tire.
Okay, I never heard this one.
And won. Now I don't know if Billy Voigt told me that. That was just here a while. I'm pretty sure maybe Billy Voigt told me that.
Okay.
He said he was there. And I got to ask Billy. I see Billy quite a bit. I got to ask Billy again about that. And because something went on, and it was like the last 3 laps or something, and he won the race.
Sure.
And then there was another one. Billy Voigt was telling me, and I heard of all these things where, Dick would maybe use somebody's car and get in a wreck.
Yeah.
And, well, Billy Voigt is telling me the story. He says he's building this. I think that was an Impala, he said, or something, back when Billy Voigt was like 20 years old or so. And he says he went around to Jerry Bradle and he got all the information he could. And then I think it was maybe Billy Wirtz or something. He got all this information he could, and he put that car all together. And he was working on that and trying to get it all done right. And then he went to, what the heck, Jerry Bradle built his motor form and stuff. Good aluminum head Chevy motor. He had the hot motor. And he's got it all done. But he's got to work. He can't go to the racetrack because he's got to work. Well, Dick had trouble with his Mustang. Hey, Bill, let me use your car. Well, I guess so. So they were pretty tight, them two. And so Dick comes and picks his car up, takes it to his shop, works on it for about 3-4 hours, heads down to the Dells. Goes down there, breaks the track record. First time the car's been on the track. Runs a heat or whatever, wins the heat. Gets in the feature, something goes on, backs it into the wall, smashes it all to pieces. Next day, Billy says, I'm trying to find out how Dick ran. I can't find nobody, can't hear nobody. I finally go over there. Here's my car laying out on the lawn, all smashed. He says, I don't know how he got it off the truck. I says, oh, what did Dick say about that? Well, he didn't tell me. He didn't say nothing. No, I says, what did he say about, how it ran?
Yeah.
Oh, he says, that was the fastest thing I ever drove. Billy says he took the motor out of it. The rest of it was junk.
Oh, man.
That's got to hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, you can wreck your car. That's one thing. But when you work, when you're at that age, he stuck all this money in. He did all this work, huh? He's got nothing.
Got nothing. Sure fast, though, apparently.
And he said that track record stood for a long time.
No kidding.
I mean, that's a good story.
Yeah.
It don't get much better than that.
Did you ever say if Dick helped them out get another one, or?
No. He says, Dick would never tell you thank you, he says. Oh. Yeah, he was telling me all kinds of stories. He was telling me another story about Dick. Dick was working at home, and he just kind of had like a lean-to on the house or something, and this is where he was building his Fairlane back in the day.
Okay.
When Billy was young. He was helping him. And Dick would go and measure something, and he'd take off in the house, and he's gone. A little while later, he'd come back. Pretty soon, he's doing something, and he measures something. He'd take off in the house, and then a little while, he'd come back. He says, so I'm watching this, and then the third time, Dick comes back. I says, you don't know how to read a ruler, do you? He says, he stands there and looks at him. He says, so the next day he brought a notebook pad and he drew out on a notebook pad how to read a ruler and showed him how to read a ruler. And in a few days he knew how to read a ruler.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's what Billy told me. Yeah. Yeah. Huh? Ain't that something?
Yeah.
I mean,
where did he go?
That fits right in with Dick. I mean, that sounds about right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, those stories of those times when those cars were getting built and racing was really starting to become a thing. Or it's just sure cool. Boomer's the one that told me this story. They were racing at Black River Falls, I think, and Dick was there with a 56 Ford. I kind of think that was a dirt track deal, and something went on in the heat race, clump of dirt or something, hit the oil filter, lost the oil in the motor. Motor tightened up. Boomer said he was there. And then, so Dick is running around the pits trying to find enough oil to put in it. Found an oil filter from somebody. Gets it all done, gets the oil in it. Well, they're lining up to run the feature. Well, Dick's got a wrecker pushing them.
around, motor's tightened up, snapping a clutch, snapping a clutch, snapping a clutch. They make a lap. Well, it ain't going. Dick waves him on. Come on. Pushes him, snapping the clutch, snapping the clutch. All of a sudden, it breaks loose. he won the race. He won the race. He got that going, and he won the race. Now, put that in perspective. Boomer's the one that told me that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable is right. Yeah.
And then Hank's Auto. Hank...
oh, that was there in Rapids?
Yes.
Yes.
They had whatever, 57 Chevys. They had a lot of good equipment for the time, or whatever. He just says, now I've seen it all, he says. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Story like that. Yeah. That you'd have to ask Boomer about. Yeah. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Gosh, if do you have a favorite memory at all from that you can really, I mean, I'm sure you had a lot of them, but you get a favorite memory from just being around those guys, whether it was at the shop or the racetrack, not in, and I guess not, not even being on the track. It doesn't even have to be. Who
knows, all of it was good. You know what I mean? It's just all good. Little here, little there, it was a great, just having the whole experience, being around the whole thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, it was all good. Yeah. Yeah, who knows? I'll think of something. But there was just all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. Now you said you haven't been to a racetrack in a while, but what was the last year that you raced?
Boy, I don't know if it was like
08 or 09 maybe?
Maybe I was thinking more like 06 or something, or
okay.
I guess I didn't really.
I was trying to think of that too, because I know because my first year in a super late model had been 2010. I know I never raced with you. But yeah, gosh, because 2006 and 2007 I'd have been running a 4-cylinder, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I remember you both years there. Yeah. And I was trying to think if there was, maybe in 08 or something, you would pop out every once in a while. I couldn't remember.
I might have popped out once with it was like one of my first cars was like 40-year-old car, and there possibly was a deal there. Sure. Yeah, I think I might have went to Wausau. That might have been.
Okay.
But that was it.
Once you're kind of getting into those years, did you kind of know like, hey, yeah, I think I'm getting to the point where I'm just gonna kind of be done?
I started wondering why I was doing all this work. When I first started racing, you could come to the racetrack at 15 minutes to 8. Bang, go out, qualify, Then they started doing, everything got dragged out more. Now you had to be there 4 o'clock in the afternoon and this and that. And it just got just too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just way too much work, and the rules and the rule changes, you got to do this and you got to do that, and it's just the way it is.
Yeah, a lot to keep up with, along with everything else in life.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had a business to run, and kids are all growing up, and going to school, and there's all that going on too.
Right.
So.
But you said you hadn't been to a track in a little while.
Well, I don't know when I was to a track. Maybe when Father Gruba had his deal up by Wausau.
Wausau, okay.
That might, however many years ago that was, but. Yeah, it's all a lot of work. I know why I kind of started backing out of racing. I'm walking through trying to BS with somebody in the pits, and somebody goes by with that damn noisy car, and you can't hear what you're saying to the guy. Trying to talk with somebody, and all these noisy cars are around.
Talking about 4-cylinders or what?
Any of them.
Okay.
Yeah, they all made noise.
Oh. Can't have a conversation, right?
Nope. Trying to BS with somebody, and somebody goes by with a noisy race car. It's time to stay home.
I know we were looking at these end tables here and chatting about that you do a little bit of woodworking. What gets the gears turning nowadays for you?
Oh,
I guess you're talking about a log cabin.
working on a log cabin and
Yeah.
stuff, and that's really kind of cool and stuff. I like that. I've got a nice log cabin. I don't have it all finished or anything, but yeah, a little more on the rustic side, not all a fancy finish thing. I kind of like that more that way. Just
Running water.
almost.
Okay.
Yeah. I've got one up in Alaska too, and that
Okay.
I've got kind of got running water there too. I got to use these Milwaukee batteries to power my water pump and stuff, but that's working out well also. So
I thought I had heard you spend a little time up in
yeah,
Alaska.
I go up there for the salmon run and stuff. Do a lot of
Okay.
salmon
That's
fishing
cool.
and stuff, and that's fun. That's really that's all different up there. And they got racetracks up there. There's a racetrack right in town there in Kenai, a little dirt track, and they run sprint cars and hobby stockers there. And to get to the racetrack, these guys run 11 hours from Fairbanks to come there to race.
No kidding.
That's 11 hours to get there, and oh my gosh.
That's something a racer would do, yeah.
Yeah, and there's every once in a while, yeah, they're into their sprint cars, and they're into a lot of hot rods and stuff up there that yeah, they get pretty nutty. They got a few guys that really get the stuff done nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's cool.
Yeah, they do. That is pretty cool. They love their motors up there and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I imagine Alaska just a very, very different way of living up there, I imagine.
There's a whole bunch of heavy redneck stuff. You know what I mean? You never know what you're going to see. The guy drives into the restaurant with his pickup truck. There's no door on the left side. I mean, it's no big deal, though. And headlights don't work on the car. There's a big one bolted right in the center of the hood. That's your light if you need it. And window gets broke out. That's not a problem. You put a garbage bag and you slam it in the door the right way so the water doesn't run into the vehicle. So, they can.
They got other stuff to worry about.
Yeah, they run in the ditch. Who has that? There's people that got money, and there's people that don't have any money. You run in the ditch with your van. Well, you might just be living in your van for a few days until the cops come and flush you out of there or something. It's going on all over the place up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Do you fly up there? Do you get up there? Okay.
I fly up.
I'd say that'd be a long drive.
Yeah, I don't. I got a buddy that from Wasser, Gleason there, that drives up there every year, and
Okay.
yeah, he's I ran into him, and he's quite a character. But that's nice to have. He checks my cabin out and stuff.
Sure.
He says it's all standing. I got a pickup truck up there. He says the wheels are still on the truck, so you never know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a little ways away to go and check on it.
Right.
Keep an eye on it.
They got their, the tweakers, or, there'll be a real fancy house over here. The next house might be a trailer house, and the yard might just be totally full of scrap. I mean, totally, where they can't drive in their yard, and they park their car out on the road because the yard is full. And then the next house might be another beautiful house like yours here. So, yeah.
Yeah, different for sure.
Yeah. And a lot of very good people. The only ones you can tell, the locals and the tourists. The tourists won't hold the door for you when you walk through it. A local, he's going to hold that door for you. The local's going to stop for you to cross the road. He stopped back over there. You don't even know why he stopped. That's because he's waiting for you. There's a lot of very good people up there.
Sure.
Really, really, really neat to see that.
Yeah. Oh, it's even like around here. I know when someone's a local or not, because if I'm out on a walk or something like that and I wave, if they wave back, I usually know they're from around here.
Oh, yeah. If you're stopped on the side of the road, they're going to stop and make sure you're not, in trouble. Yeah, they're very, very good people.
Looking out for one another. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's the Alaskan way. Yeah, fantastic.
If throughout your years of racing, is there a track or a particular race of any sort that you wish you would have went and done, or are you pretty good with everything you've done?
The one thing that I should have done is I shouldn't have went to so many races. I should have stayed home and worked on the car. I went to way too many races with the car that you knew was not in shape at all. Should have stayed home, worked on the car, got things done, got things ready. Dick Trickle will tell you right off the bat, your speed is in the shop. It's how much you work on that car is how fast you're going to go. So that should have went to less races. All you're doing was wearing out your equipment.
Yeah.
So when you get all your work done, everything works well, and bang, it shows.
We were talking a little bit too about, how, I guess, where local racing is at today as far as, what the cars and technology and stuff has evolved to, even from when you started racing all the way up until, when you were done, what did you think about the way, technology, had evolved?
When I started racing, everybody was still building their own cars and such pretty much. See, just like Tom and, I'm sure you heard about Pete when they were working together and stuff.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
That whole deal.
Hoffman,
and everybody's building all this stuff. And I call it redneck or whatever, and Jimmy Bach there and stuff, building all this stuff with whatever is around you and using it and making this car and trying your own different redneck things and getting it done. So yeah, that was really kind of neat. And I saw these guys all doing this, and this is okay. So I was doing it myself, and then as time evolved, pretty soon there was the Bemco chassis and all the Howe cars and everything, and now you got books this thick you can buy anything you ever dreamed up.
Oh, right, yeah.
I used to build. I built a transmission that when you shifted it into high, it would kick the cluster out. And I'm telling you, I worked a long time. I built that right in my shop. I ground the gears and stuff and had to redo something with the forks. And I was looking for that transmission a couple years ago because this is something you're not going to want to ever throw out because there was a lot of work in there. I couldn't find it. I don't know what I did. I must have give it a heave one day and didn't know it, but doggone it, I do stuff like that. That's unbelievable. That was a lot of wasted work is what it was. But it worked well. And then when you wanted to shift down, shift it, and I had it so the fork and it kick the cluster back in without any problem grinding. I didn't know if it would grind or what it was doing, but it worked fine. It really worked well. Yeah, that was one. Well, there was another one, something like that I did. Yeah, well, it's all these things are so time consuming, and it's like I said, if you keep doing all the little things, it all turns into speed, But how much time you got and how much money you got.
Yeah, you need it all.
Yeah.
And usually you're missing one of them.
Yeah. And then the worst thing about it is if you ever did figure something out and make some speed out of it, everybody had their nose in there. So you had to do it in a manner, I think I wanted to run a heavy right rear spring. So I left the light rear spring and I jammed a bunch of valve springs inside the shock or something like that, because, everybody will be all over you. And it's the worst thing you can do is let somebody else think. They start thinking they'll beat you. Don't let them think.
Oh, makes sense. Yeah.
I remember Gary Bach one time. He was struggling. And I was, who knows, I get that fifth in time and stuff. I was doing okay. And I told him what I did on the right front or something there with something with some roll center thing. Next thing, he's parked right next to me all the time. I says, on the track, he brought him up to speed, whatever. He got thinking, and he redid something,
Yeah, Joe planted that little nugget in for me, and
maybe I did, maybe I didn't, maybe I'm just telling a fantasy. You know what I mean? But yeah, you don't know. Yeah, all racers. You don't want to let another racer think. They're enough trouble the way they are. You can't let them think. Don't let them know nothing. You can't let them think. Mm-mm. So, yeah.
Do you have a favorite win or accomplishment throughout your racing career?
Boy, I can't really say that it's that big of a deal. I had the best accomplishment. I had that thing flying at Plover for a while. I was using that ratchet without no stagger.
Okay.
And it might have been a lot of things coming together at once. First of all, it was 100-degree weather. And you know how cars get kind of slippery and sloppy.
Yeah.
And I could put my foot all the way to the floor in the center of the corner, and it would just drive out of there, and I could go through the cars like that. That was a blast. I just wish it could happen all the time,
right?
But it doesn't.
Yeah, it only lasts for so long, right? No, that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember way back when I was running good. That's when we still had the heavy cars. And that whole left side weight thing, I was carrying when I'd run across scales, I think it was about 1,000 pounds on the left front. And then there was this thing called an S19 Goodyear, which was a tacky tire. And you could run that. The left front was open. If you ever heard about that, you probably didn't know anything about that.
What you could run whatever you want on the left front?
Yes.
No, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, years ago that could be, and I'd get that S19 on the left front, and that car was fast. That I could really run good, and then I got running pretty good with that. Gosh darn, you couldn't get that tire anymore. You couldn't get that tire. The only guy that could get that tire was Dick. You could get his used one, but you could not buy that tire new anymore. No. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, it's always, when you stumble onto something like that, that maybe not everyone else is doing, and it kind of puts you out there.
I didn't have enough money to buy tires anyway, but, Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, gosh, I'm trying to think if I had any real burning question in my mind. I know it's been, I've loved the Dick Trickle stories, and of course, talking about my grandpa as well with you, and that was kind of one of the things I was kind of looking forward to, the most, just outside of talking about your racing, as I knew you had spent a lot of time around those guys, and to be able to have you come here and share some of those things is definitely enjoyable for me, and I know anyone else that's gonna tune in is gonna love them too.
I get a kick out of that because as I get older, I think everybody knows all the stuff that I know, and I get thinking about it. I says, well, no, he's not going to know that. He wasn't there. He wasn't around,
Yeah.
I'm starting to realize that, I'm almost 70 years old, and, you get thinking back. I was doing that recently. That was 50 years ago, A lot has changed since then.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were all steel bodies and everything, and then starting going to fiberglass, lighter. Oh yeah.
I see you recently put some, I don't know if it was 1 or 2-year-old cars up on Facebook Marketplace.
Yeah,
Your wife's got them out there.
some guy come and picked one up. He's going to run it in the old timers race or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and he didn't know what he was getting into when he stopped and paid me for that, because his pickup truck got loaded up with all kinds of things, and he couldn't say no. Yeah, we got him a whole truckload.
Oh, that's good.
And there's another truckload if somebody else stops by too. Yeah, I either gotta build another shop or get out of the shop what's in it. So
yeah, they're never big enough.
They're never big enough. I made up my mind about 10 years ago. I says, I got enough shops. I don't need any more shops. You got to get rid of this stuff. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know if he is he going to change the paint scheme, everything on it?
I don't know anything.
Okay.
I didn't care. As long as it was gone and it was out of my shop, that's all I cared about at the time, because I had my shop space opened up. So
yeah,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Oh, I thought about there's so many things that I would like to, what I'd like to try. I mean, there were, that's like when I run that ratchet, the stagger brings you into the corner. So I didn't have no stagger bringing me into the corner. So what I wanted to do that would really probably help this thing a ton is drag that left rear brake. See, on corner entry, set that up so you could drag that left rear brake. I don't know if you'd use a separate brake pedal or how you would do this, for sure. But I bet you could get a lot more speed out of that yet, because it had the bite and everything. That foot could go right to the floor because you didn't have the stagger,
right,
and stuff. And you're not grinding them. You're not grinding up all that rubber. Not fighting against each other down the straightaway, all that stuff. You're not tearing up them tires. The tires would come in a lot cooler.
Oh, I could believe that. Yeah.
So I don't know, but better I don't think about it and just do what I'm doing. It would be fun, just like you said, your grandpa helping you and stuff there, and that, he's thinking and he sees and he knows how these things work, and I know a lot of guys, they think about, well, you got to set that front end suspension, you got to have this many 10,000ths of toe out or this or that. I think those things people put too much into a lot of that, because you're driving on a rag. The thing is a rag. People got to understand that tire is just a folding over rag, and this, that, blah, you know what I mean? If you ever ran your right front tire, if you got the tie rod too close to the tire,
Yep.
And it hits that there and stuff, all them fold marks in that, and it's moving over this far, and that's halfway up the tire. By the time you hear that's moving over 3 inches, and you're worried about 10,000ths, Yeah, there's a lot of different ways to look at it.
There are indeed.
Yeah. And then you get, there's Marv. Marv told me about that story. I heard about it. They all got in a wreck down at the Dells. And he says he comes in the pits. He's out of the car. You can see the towing is all balled up. Left rear tire's flat. Rocky Breezer's next to him. They grabbed the tire off of Rocky's. Rocky's crew came over there, and they bolted a right side tire on the left rear so Marv could get out there again. And Marv says, well, I did all I could do. I had to get in the car because they were going to let the race go. He jumps in the car. He could see that tire was way too big. He could see his towing was all screwed up. He jumps in there. He starts over. Marv won the race. he says, that tire was 1.5 inches bigger on the left rear than the right side. He says, but with the toe and all being off, he says, the car would come into the corner, and he says he had that big 454. He says he could put that foot to the floor, and away he'd go. Then his story goes on, and he says, that car never got raced like that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Was this an accident? But he blamed it on a lot of the good cars are out of the race.
Okay.
You know, yes, no, I don't know. But those are the stories. You know, everybody's precision this, precision that.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Like you said, it's an interesting way to look at it.
Yeah. Accidents. Learn more from an accident than you do from science. And
yeah, I've had it where, I've had the front of a race car ran over, and there were some things that got tweaked. It got put back together, and got put back together in a real quick hurry, and came back the next week, and swear to gosh, it was faster than what it was the previous week. And you don't know if you're just madder than a wet hen because you're trying to get back, or if it's actually better or not. But
that's hard. And then you start researching it. And now you spent the whole week and you got nowhere. I know it. Oh, that whole racing family of yours. I mean, there's so much information there. Yeah, I remember when Brian was running ASA, and I think they were struggling at the beginning of the year. Adam was helping them, and all of a sudden, whatever, I think they got something figured out, and he was going, he darn near won a championship at the end of the year. Do you remember that? Yeah,
there was I know I can't remember all the stuff that was going on, but I think there was some people getting let by and all that. But yeah, he didn't lose by much
at the last race there. Yeah, there was politics.
Yeah,
but unbelievable, Yeah.
Yeah, those are some cool times especially in those ASA days. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, that and I remember when Adam was around that. I was, I was 9, 10. I mean, yeah, for me that was one of the coolest times in my life. I wish I was older. I'm glad I experienced it when I did, but I wish I was older to have been able to appreciate what I was around. It was
sure.
Here in Stevens Point, you get this big shop. There's 4 ASA cars. I think there was a Craftsman truck being built at one point, an ASA late model sitting in there. These guys are out in the parking lot doing live pit stops, and I'm just sitting there mesmerized and just hanging around. That was so cool.
And they were the better pit crew out of the bunch, with that ASA team stuff. They were, a lot of the teams weren't together at all with their pit stops, so this is all work that has to be done, and it all takes time, and
Yeah, a lot of fun.
A lot of work. Call it fun if you want to. Anybody that's a racer, they understand the word work.
Yeah, I think you have to if you want to really want to do anything.
That's just for example, Kyle Busch. Well, that he was driven, and he didn't take care of himself. He was a racer. He was going to go to the racetrack, and we can push through it, But yeah, that's a racer.
Yeah, sad. Definitely a sad and very unexpected deal there for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Well, no, Joe. I like I said, I have loved and appreciated all the stories of that you've shared throughout your career, and around all the people that you surrounded yourself with and had the opportunities to hang around, and like I said, it's been great to sit and chat about all those stories.
Well, those aren't all the stories, but that's I'll think of some more at another time. Yeah, all of a sudden something get a flashback, and stuff.
Yeah, try to blow the cobwebs off some of those memories, and
right. But But I'm glad I went through what I did.
Yeah, I imagine there are times a racer looks back at it and be like, man, that was hard. I really didn't enjoy this part of it, but yeah, for some reason I still wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah.
And I'd do it all over again.
Well, that's the only thing I say. If I would have went to less races and got the work done,
Yeah.
would have helped a lot. But.
Yeah, I think that was something I didn't towards the end of my time, in some of my more recent super late model years. I mean, I dropped off from going from like 20 races a year, which still didn't feel like as many as, a lot of the guys there were people running 40s and 50, but I kind of backed it down to, 12 because it was like, well, yeah, it doesn't feel like enough races to, be learning as much as I want, but well, at least when I go to these 12, I'm going to feel very prepared when I get there. And I think that amounted for something. I think I was able to make up that difference a little bit versus stretching myself thin.
Sure. Oh, yeah. It was a blast.
Yeah. No, like I said, too, honor to have you here, Joe. And, appreciate you taking the time to come and do this and share those stories. And, I'm sure there's gonna be a lot of people who love hearing these things. And that's the thing too, is a lot of people don't get to hear these stories or, may not remember them. And hopefully some of these stories, kind of knock the cobwebs off some old memories for people too.
Oh yeah. I'm sure there are people that, I know there's other people that were on the bus ride and stuff there,
Yeah.
And every time I talk to somebody, they remember something else about it.
Right.
So. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, thanks, Joe. And like I said, thanks again. And it's been an absolute blast. So appreciate you coming on and doing this.
Yeah, it was a good time, Colin.
Yeah.
Sure appreciate being here, and I enjoy talking about all those race stories too.
Thank you for listening in to Speed and Grease. If you're a returning listener, I appreciate you tuning into another episode. And if it was your first time tuning into the show, I hope you enjoyed it and want to keep coming back for more. And if you haven't already, make sure you head on over to Facebook, Instagram, like and follow us on one of those platforms wherever you prefer, even on X as well. And if you watch a lot of stuff on YouTube, make sure you head on over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel there to stay up to date on everything. And also, if you want, give us a rating and review over on Spotify or Apple Podcasts as well. Thank you again for tuning in. I really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one.